Isn't it wonderful to be here at the greatest Barbie exhibit you'll ever see? I know you're as thrilled as I am.
Documentary called Barbie Nation, if you guys have an opportunity to see it. It's really interesting talking about not only the history of Barbie, but the history of things that people do to and with Barbie. So how many of you guys really think that Ruth Handler had pre-op transsexual Ken in mind when she created the Barbie and sort of Ken universe? Okay, so you can kind of see my point in showing you this video, right? We're thinking of Barbie as a certain type of text that someone has created for a particular purpose. And people have gone and thrown this all to bits, right? By creating these, I think they're really creative, but some people would call them, you know, they're abomination, right? Insult to the Barbie line. This is our transition to reader response, right? And what reader response attempts to do is account for the fact that, you know, almost no reader has the same experience as another with any given text, right? And you guys have experienced this in section. And, you know, some of you guys have argued with your instructors over, you know, that's totally wrong. That's not how I read this at all, right? I mean, and so we know this. And what reader response theory is trying to do is kind of legitimate how these sort of personal experiences shape a reading of a text and a critical interpretation of a text. So I've got some more formulas for you. This is reader response again. We've gone from new criticism to reader response. The text now is an object situated at a crossroads of cultural, historical, and biographical context. We have a little more nuanced vision now of what the text represents. Similarly, the reader is now an individual who brings personal experience to a complex text. You can have histories, you can have opinions now, right? You can have feelings. All right, finally, interpretation becomes a sort of negotiation of the personal and universal codes inside and outside of the text, right? So you are adding your own personal opinion to your interpretation of this literary text. Now, I have another video for you, and this is sort of my word of warning to you, because a lot of instructors really dread teaching reader response to students, because, you know, after we've constricted you to new criticism, sometimes readers go a little crazy with their interpretations, and it becomes this really personal, like, journal entry about, hey, I was reading this, and it made me feel this way. So here's another Barbie Nation clip for you.
Are you going to put that foot on him?
No, I'm just going to put him into the restraints on the
Okay.
wall. We weren't real thrilled with the idea of being on camera in terms of showing our faces doing this, but we were willing to show these because I am absolutely positive that there are a ton of people out there doing possibly kinkier things with their Barbies than we do.
A lot of people don't want to acknowledge that Barbie is a sexual doll, a sexy doll. That's certainly part of my beginnings as a child. It very quickly became just this private game that I had with my dolls, and they were very sexual. It took me years to get to a point where I had done what Barbie had done. I didn't come out as lesbian until I was over 30.
Maybe he could be lying on his back and she could step on him with her eyes. I think it's best that he just worship and adore her. All right, we'll worship and adore her.
All right. This is my word of warning to you, and here's our tour guide Barbie again, that reader response does not mean let your critique become too personal. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of Barbie S&M doll enthusiasts out there, but when you let your critique become too personal, like the S&M Barbie ladies do, you lose your audience, right? Your interpretation no longer carries meaning to anyone but yourself. Now, in our profession, and sort of in the practice of studying literature and writing critical essays, you are writing for an audience. We have to write, to our colleagues in a particular field, and they have to read and at least somewhat get what we're saying. If you make your interpretation too personal, no one else is going to get it. So again, don't drop what you've learned. What we want you guys to do and understand is that the fundamentals of sorry, that's another poorly written slide, I apologize. Let me go back and take that away. Oh, that went too far back. Okay, anyways, what I want you guys to get is that negotiation. So reader response theory was written, or was sort of, they came up with it as a sort of a reaction to new criticism, which totally deleted the reader from the picture, right? So we're still building on these foundations of new criticism that we've learned already in the quarter, okay? Don't drop what you've learned. We still want to stay within the text. You want to negotiate your own personal feelings about this text with the actual evidence that is within the text. So again, use your new critical perspective to sort of give you a grounding. One of the things that new criticism did that Lynn mentioned in the readings for this week was that it sort of made it a more scientific, in quotation marks, a more scientific process. So something with a firmer grounding than reader response tends to do. So again, build on top of